Warning. The content in this podcast contains some explicit language which may be offensive to some listeners and may be inappropriate for children. Therefore, the content in this podcast is intended for a mature audience only.
So, when'd you fall in love with hip-hop? Right here, what we're gonna do is go back.
Well, hello. This is MochaTea. I am Capri.
And I'm Nika.
And I'm Dante.
And we're live.
For the first time.
For the first time at the Ice Event Center. So, we've had a crazy busy weekend.
We have.
We have literally recorded every day this weekend.
Yes, we have.
We've got some good content for you guys, for those that listen. And for those of you who've not listened to us, you won't be disappointed.
No. What you think, Dante?
I don't think so. I don't have a mic. I gotta share.
Well, we can put it up here right now if you like.
No, it's fine. But if y'all want to, y'all can check out our table. We actually have some cards. So if y'all know somebody that like podcasts, feel free to grab a card and pass them out.
Please pass it out.
Please support us. We're on all several platforms, so you guys, we are very available to you guys out now. So, how y'all feeling? I was kind of nervous up to this point. How y'all feeling? Thank you for joining us.
We appreciate it.
I'm not nervous anymore, though. What about you?
I never was nervous, surprisingly. I told y'all that yesterday.
Well, you might have got nervous before, by now.
I mean, I know, but I feel fine. Maybe it's the liquid courage.
It might be.
I've been nervous. I've been nervous since, I don't do the whole crowd thing, so it's different.
When you came up here on Wednesday.
Girl, you should have seen how fast I announced this show. I got up here on stage and I was just like, I'm one-third of MochaTea. We'll be out Monday. Come out support us. If you haven't downloaded, girl, it's fast.
You probably said it so fast I didn't even catch it.
Listen, I did it.
Hey, you gotta slow down like y'all have to make me slow down sometimes.
Exactly.
So you have to say it real slow.
I know. I was nervous though.
Okay.
Dante, you wouldn't even did it.
No, she wouldn't have.
Exactly.
I was actually going to come support you, but I was scared.
Thought I was going to call your name to make you come up here with me. See, I did it by myself.
Okay.
So.
But, anywho. So, we got some really good topics. By the way, shout out to our followers, because when we put out that announcement. PSA, sorry, not EPA.
I'm like environmental protection.
When we put that PSA out, y'all came through. Y'all gave us some great topics. We had a lot of different topics to discuss.
We did.
And we picked some pretty interesting topics. I think they're pretty relevant to what's going on right now. So, we can get right into it. Or I could ask you guys a question.
We need to remember what I told you.
So would you like to go ahead and do that first, and then I'll ask you a question after that?
Let's do that.
Alrighty.
Okay.
So part of today we would like to discuss, or we are discussing, the Julius Jones case. For you guys that do not know about Julius Jones, Julius Jones is a guy that was in our community, was arrested and charged on a murder case. And we all believe he was wrongfully charged for that murder, that he was set up for that murder. I don't know if have you guys seen the documentary? There is a documentary out here, and shout out to Kim Kardashian, by the way, who has now made that documentary. Definitely, I'm sure the nation now knows so much about that documentary, and it's definitely worth watching and understanding his story. My 17-year-old fell in love with that story and has followed Julius ever since she's watched that documentary. I think it's very informative to not only just us as adults, but also to our youth. Because, she still follows Julius's story, and she is still very concerned about Julius's story, and she took to it from the documentary. So
we actually have his best friend here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. My name is Jimmy Lawson. Me and Julius grew up together. Been friends for about 31 years now. And we both come out of John Marshall High School. So in 1999, something went down in Evan, Oklahoma. A gentleman got killed, and my buddy got wrapped up into it. So what has happened since then? Over the past 15 to 20 years, we've been trying to find a way to get his real story told. So about 2 years ago, Viola Davis, y'all familiar with Viola Davis?
Yeah.
Right, so I get this phone call, right, from this unknown New York City number, right? She's like, may I speak to Mr. Lawson?
Oh, you saw Viola Davis called you?
Yeah, so I'm
She
like,
called you direct?
I'm like, who is this? Viola Davis.
Do you sound like that in real life?
Yes. I'm like, Viola Davis. She's like, hey, this is what we're doing. Me and my husband is branching off, and we are focusing on death row cases. I said, okay, cool, that's cool. Well, we got like 100 cases, and we're going to break that down to 12 cases in about a year. I said, all right, if your buddy case is chosen, then we'll give you a call back. So about a year later, they said, call again. Hey, your buddy's case got chosen as top 12. I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, right? So she's like, now, okay, the next step is we're going to choose 2 cases that we're going to do a full-blown movie on. I'm like, all right, that's cool. In my mind, I'm not really registering what's about to happen, right? I'm like, all right, cool. She's like, no, you're not getting what I'm saying. It's lost. Like, this is going to be on APC, right? We're going to spend 17 hours shooting, and then we're going to scrunch that down into 3 hours that we choose. I'm like, that's going to be pretty dope.
That's what's
right?
up.
So about 6 months later, I get a call from a guy from New York City who is the head film guy for Viola Davis. He's like, hey, Jimmy, what you doing next Tuesday? I'm like, this is like on a Friday. I'm like, just working, man. He's like, don't go to work because I'm coming to your house. Right? I'm like, all right. He didn't say much. He was like, I'm going to bring a couple of cameras and I'll tell you more when I get there. This dude shows up with 27 people, 14 cameras, right? 5 film guys with little things. They shut my whole house down, right? We filmed just my part. So if y'all saw The Last Defense, just my part alone took 7.5 hours to film.
Oh, wow. That's what's
Right,
up.
just my part. So that whole project took about 6 to 8 months to shoot the whole deal. Took about a year to edit. So actually, we shot everything in 2017, and it aired in July of 2018. But I'll tell you what happened. You know, Julius at that point was like right on the brink about, giving up on life, suicidal. Will his real story ever be told? So once that aired, it turned his whole life around. Right, it gave him hope, gave the family hope.
That was my question. Did it give him hope?
Oh, it gave him hope, right? He was kind of concerned about what would Oklahoma City view a black man who hypothetically killed a white guy in Evan. How would they view that having a case shown on national TV? But it did the opposite. It turned out to be the opposite. People were begging me, how can I help you? How can I help? I want to help. I need help. I want to help.
Okay,
Right?
so my question is, I hate to bring race into it, but what race was willing to help? Was it more blacks or more whites?
I would say 50-50. At the beginning, it was more whites. It was more whites because, justice is that one dynamic that no matter what my color is, somebody is going through something that has injustice.
Absolutely.
Right? So when we see injustice on TV, injustice doesn't have a color. So everybody's watching TV. It made it beautiful because they couldn't film Julius. So all we could do was hear Julius in the show. Y'all remember that?
Right.
There was a reason. DOC didn't let the film crew come into the penitentiary. But it worked out to be better because, to me, it made Julius more intimate.
Yes.
Right? You couldn't see him, you could hear him, but you could feel him.
Yes.
Right? So for those who was watching TV, didn't really know what Julius looked like. But all they could say is, I know what injustice feels like. How can I help?
And a lot of times people judge off of your facial expressions.
Right.
So it's good that they were only able to hear his voice.
Right. Absolutely. So where we are now is that he exhausted all 3 appeals in the state of Oklahoma, all the federal appeals. So just recently, 2 weeks ago, over the past 8 months, we've been working on what we call a clemency application. So there's 2 parts to a clemency.
I said, can you define what a
Oh,
clemency
absolutely.
is?
So we are seeking that the state of Oklahoma, a.k.a. the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board and Governor Stitt, provide relief. There's 2 ways they can do so through a clemency application. The first one is called a pardon, which is the full execution of a sentence and or rape. So in his case, because he's on death row, that would be a very good option. The best option in this case was called commutation. So commutation is a slick word for thank you for serving your time, we'll let you out.
Okay.
But here's the trick. So for under clemency in the state of Oklahoma, you got to have 3 out of the 5 board members approve that they want to hear the case. Once that takes place, step 2 would be to hold a hearing for him. They'll go get Julius, he'll come before them, he'll provide his statement. If the 3 out of the 5 approves that, then they'll send it to Governor Stitt. And Governor Stitt is the last one to sign and say yeah, no.
Okay, so I guess one of my biggest questions in regards to this case is we've looked at it and we've watched it and we followed it a little bit because we did cover it in our incarceration case or episode previous or in early terms. We did cover that case. But like when you watch the documentary, it's clear that he was mistried. That there was some issues or some concerns. You have the DA who stops and says, or one of the assistant DAs who says, I feel like we did some things wrong, we didn't try it. So what are some of the barriers he's facing?
Well, you know, in court and federal law, what we run up against is that more times than not, federal law, the U.S. Supreme Court, would not jump over state boundaries. So on the 3 appeals, they would come back and say, based on our opinion, we want to go with the lower court's decision. They wouldn't even view the case. They would say, that's state law. I know we're federal, but we don't want to touch it. Even though all the evidence points to somebody else other than Julius.
And even though he's serving federal time.
They don't even care.
So he is serving federal time.
He's serving state time.
State time. Okay.
But you got to file with the U.S. Supreme Court for an appeal, which is on the federal side.
Okay. All right. So right now, how long does he have before the clemency? So right now we're at the last. Are we on the last leg? The last thing we have? Like what happens after this? So
the good thing is they won't right now have a moratorium on the death penalty, which means that it's a freeze. So no dates of execution has been set for anybody that is on death row. So that's the positive. If this did not go through, nothing would happen because there is no execution. They're still trying to choose the drug for that. They've chosen the drug, but the protocol for the drug has not been passed. What does that mean? That means if something went bad for Julius and they denied it, you still can't be killed.
Okay. So right now, so how long do they have before we go through the clemency? Because like I said, we know Kim Kardashian reposted. We have all of that publicity. Hopefully her voice or her platform has given us some push and an ability to kind of push, because that's something that she's been doing. That's like one of the platforms that she's chosen, or it's one of the things that she's chosen to utilize her platform for. Yeah. So like clemency, how long do we have before we'll know the results of that?
So here's the trick for clemency. There is no timeline. I'll give you all a sense of what the clemency board does. So they receive between 300 to 500 applications per month. So Julius is just part of the stack, if you will. So as they get through the stack, they'll set up a specific date once they're approved. So timeline-wise, we don't know. They just got to get through the process. But they'll be on top of it once they do, will or something. How huge is Kim K, though?
But how did that make you feel?
How huge is Kim Kardashian picking this up, though?
Exactly.
I mean, that's huge.
That's huge.
That's huge. The fact that she picked it up and then just pushed it and then reposted it. Last time I checked, it was at like 67 million.
Yeah. Super dope.
Yeah, so that's like really, really dope.
Yeah, super dope.
But how did that make you feel when you saw that?
Oh man, I got jumped over my couch.
But I mean, you've had Viola Davis, Kim K. I mean, I have to say, shout out to you for being a friend like that. Thank you for being a...
Come on.
No, really.
I mean, thank you. We have to sing that stuff for you. A lot of people don't have that. And some people, go through this process and they lose their friends after that happens to them. Right. So you're talking 10 years later, 10 plus years later, that you are still pushing and still fighting and still constantly in the media. Well, that's 20 years later. Yeah. Now to take it and constantly still trying to find a way to free your friends. So shout out to you for that. That's dope. I pray that my best friend do that for me if it ever happens.
It's very simple for me. Once I decided that I was going to go on TV, but it's real simple for me. If I was him and he was me, would he be a voice for me? Right? Can he speak for me? Right? Who can I count on if I'm behind that side? Who's going to be a voice for me? So I took that standpoint of, I'm just trying to do the right thing. I hope somebody will do the same for me.
That's what's up. That's what's up. We appreciate that. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you.
You know, I really appreciate you.
Hold on, this is big. First of all, our first live, and we got an advocate on here.
I know.
And the same day. After everything you've been through this week. Like,
I did. I reached out to Jimmy it was early. And I'm sorry. I'm like, hold on. Let me ask and see what he can tell me where we can discuss it. I probably texted you. I had to be at work, so it was probably about 7 this morning, 6 something this morning. I was like, let me just reach out and see. And then he was like, I was like, well, what are you doing today? He's like, well, class. I'm like, well, can you just come out? So I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
we appreciate you.
And being a voice for your friend. That's
I appreciate
big.
it.
Yes.
So,
Well, thank you. So,
y'all need a question?
yeah, we need a question. Thank you, Jimmy.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you, thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
All righty.
Just stay. I just roll off.
Colleen, I need my phone. Hey, Shonda.
We done?
Yeah, we're not gonna record the whole thing. You don't get
Oh,
the whole live on Facebook while you sit on your couch at home. You should have been here. That's how we're gonna do that. So anybody listening on next Sunday, if you weren't here, you missed out.
Exactly.
You're bad. So I have a question. I always have questions.
Let's tell them we have a microphone for them.
We do have a microphone. Does anybody have a question? So we purposely set this up for you guys to be able to interact. So since we've discussed our first topic, do you guys have any questions you want to ask us? We have the mic back there. You guys can ask any questions. Also, we didn't tell you when we got here. I don't know if we have paper and pen up. Did we bring paper and pen?
No.
We did not. We was going to do anonymous questions.
She got one.
Kenyatta got one. So,
Oh, look at Kenyatta. She's so clutch. Y'all give a hand to Kenyatta. Y'all, like, most of the stuff we love you, though. We've gone through this journey, so, like, let me say this. We've gone through this journey kind of blind a little bit sometimes, touching through the dark. And Kenyatta has been clutch in helping us to just, she be throwing us ideas. She always give us good advice. She'll just randomly hit up Mika and be like, y'all should do X, Y, and Z. And so, shout out to Kenyatta for that.
yeah, she don't randomly, y'all. That's my cousin. That was my
I mean,
cousin
but it's
when
like
she-
a random,
Yeah,
like
it
a
don't be
random.
random. We talk all the time, but
Oh, okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, maybe it's
We've
random
been
for
really
us.
close all our life. When she was 2, I was born on her birthday. Yes, ma'am. And we've been close ever since. But no, she a big help. I love my cousin to death. She a hustler. She definitely is a hustler. So if y'all need any pork, sheep brooks, anything like that, y'all make sure y'all reach out to my cousin. Put them over there. Okay, we're gonna put pen and paper. People that don't want to really say their question, they can actually put it in that glass, and we'll ask them. So Q&As. You can just sit over there together. Okay.
Alrighty. So this is off topic of any of the topics we have, but I like to ask them questions that just throw us off, but kind of give our listeners something to keep going, right? So I have 2 questions today. One of those questions are, what are words used to name your vagina that would make you uncomfortable? I'm going to ask the conservative one first. Make you uncomfortable. I mean, if y'all got some... Who nanny makes you uncomfortable? What would you call it then? Y'all want the microphone?
I think like saying the P. I think the P word is harsh.
The P word is harsh.
That's a harsh word. I know that's.
I do say it, but only if we cool like that. But if we not
It's
cool
supposed to
like
be
that,
sexy.
it's
Is it cool like that though?
Yeah.
Ain't it so come over and give some of this. Okay, I got you.
Alrighty.
Okay.
So poo nanny is something we can't. Okay. Is there any other question that makes you uncomfortable when you talk about your vagina?
I think cornbread.
Cornbread.
What? Cornbread. Cornbread. Look, I wouldn't think nothing of that one, but that
No, that's what
cornbread.
he calls it.
The cornbread?
They call this cornbread?
Oh, you call
You call it cornbread,
So you say you gotta come up here and get some of this cornbread?
baby. That it might not be dry.
Unless you make it dressing.
Add a little water.
Depends on what kind of cornbread.
So I think calling your vagina the C word is so uncomfortable. That makes me.
You rather say the P word?
I'd rather say the P word than I would coochie.
I'd rather say coochie. That's so PG. You can't just be saying a P word out here.
Yeah, you can. You can say it just how you want to say
Let
it.
me come over and sit my It sounds a little bit better though if you
First of all, but if I tell you,
come over there and sit my on your face.
first of all, if I tell you I'm gonna sit my on your face, you are more than you are worthy of it.
So you need to give it the real word.
You gonna get this on your face.
When you're ordering it from the bar, because then that drink is at the bar.
Right. Oh, is it?
Yeah. What is it called?
Wet.
Oh.
Have you ordered it?
All the time.
I'll be like, I have the wet.
Y'all know.
The P-word. Yeah, the P-word.
Mark took it off the menu.
Mark, we need you to put it back on the menu.
Why do you take it off the menu, Kenyatta?
Wet.
I call them mom tonight.
Yeah.
No, we ain't calling it no monkey either, because I ain't sitting no monkey on your
I
face.
have said that. Now that's nasty. Charlie said cunt.
Oh, that's nasty.
That is nasty.
That is nasty.
That's harsh.
One of my favorite ratchet songs is called Golden Pussy. Oh, I love that song too. It was on Insecure.
I only heard it from you though.
You have heard it from me, and baby,
Family friendly is
it is family friendly with the kids next to it, but we have been explicit warning. Okay, next question. What are things that irritate you about a man you just met?
Smacking.
Oh, baby.
I would say constantly like getting in contact, just constantly like overdoing it.
They're supposed to contact you.
No, overdoing it. Like
Sometimes
you can over contact. I mean, text. If you're gonna text today, you might, yeah. Like what you doing? And then all of a sudden I done ate lunch and an hour later, what you doing? Shit! I just did my food.
Are you still there?
Yes, that was 30 minutes ago.
I am fully irritated by the "what you doing" text with nothing that follows behind it. What you doing? Nothing. What you doing?
I don't like send me a pic.
I'm at work.
Send me a pic.
Send me a pic. I can't see
You know what? We don't even get to send me a pic because I keep getting "what you doing." Hey, what you doing? The same thing I was doing 20 minutes ago. Hey, what you doing? Blocking you. Like, no more. We're not going no further from here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Look at that. Say what you say something.
she said, send them a pic.
No, that's it. So we're going to get into our other topic today, which is generational curses.
You ready to go?
I'm ready.
So go on and talk about it.
Go ahead and start.
So what is a generational curse to y'all? We have a microphone
Tell
back
them
there.
what you. Go ahead and tell them.
To me, a generational curse is more like my mama did it, my grandma did it, my great grandma did it. So it's like I'm gonna follow behind those footsteps, whether it be teen pregnancy, alcoholism, drugs, selling drugs, just whatever, not working. Like to me, that's more of like a generational curse. Do y'all believe in them?
Yeah, I just.
Y'all all believe? Everybody? Do y'all believe they can be broken?
Yes.
How do you break them though? Like, why are so many people in generational curses? Like, why aren't they breaking them like they should have been?
A lot of people don't know that they're in it. Some place so guided. No outside guidance. It's bad money.
First of all, you got to realize it's a curse.
That's number one.
That's number one.
It's
recognizing the fact that you actually, that there is a problem to break. Because some people, honestly, I don't believe that everybody really knows that it be a generational curse. People just don't sit back and be like, hey, my mama got pregnant at 14. I'm pregnant at 15. Now my daughter pregnant at 13. I don't think people actually sit back and kind of realize that it's a generational curse.
But as a parent though, like why wouldn't you Huh?
It is hard to accept logic. It is.
I struggle with the idea that I think that sometimes we call some bad choices generational curses. So in our culture, we're like, oh, you breaking generational curses when it comes to, well, you went to college, you was the first person to ever go to college, but did anybody else ever think about going to college? Was it hard for anybody else to go to college? Because I think, or were you taught to go to college? Was this just something that you just planned to do, and so now I went to college, graduated, and I'm breaking a generational curse? What if it was just never something that anyone in your family before you thought about doing, or that was accessible to anybody in your generation before? So I think sometimes we call things generational curses that are just choices that some people have made. Example, like your mama had a baby at 14, and maybe you have a baby at 14, but nobody else has a baby at 14. I don't think that's a generational curse. I think that's the choice that you made. I think it becomes a generational curse when you start talking about how hard it is to get out of it. So I think those are things that, like, when I think about generational curses, I think about black men dying every day. I think we're, as a culture, at a generational curse in that space. When I think about the oppression of black people, something that is so hard to come up out of, I think of that as a generational curse. I don't know that I individually think of, like, well, your education or the fact that you had a baby, or, I think poverty, because I see our people impoverished for a long time. I think that that's a generational curse. I just think that some of the choices that we make, or some of the choices that people are making, I think that those are choices. I don't think those are necessarily generational curses. And I think that that's where we need to start distinguishing in our culture, because I think we always want to blame things on a generational curse.
Yeah. I mean, it becomes a clutch. I'm not going to say that. People will sit and kind of dwell on it and maybe soak in it. You know what I'm saying? Saying it is a generational curse. I mean, the fact is, it happens, though. I'm not going to be, like, shy from it and say that I don't think that it happens, because I think the man down the street may be selling drugs, and that's all he done taught his son to do, is sell drugs. And then what is he going to do is probably teach it. The little boy or the little girl see him pushing a sack. So they don't give him much of a choice.
And that's how they define it, actually. It's more of like, it's what you're used to seeing. So It's up to that person to decide if they want more. But if I'm used to seeing my mama selling drugs, and if I'm used to seeing my daddy, drinking alcohol, then that's what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know anything else. It's up to that person. Exactly. So it can be a generational curse.
I think
it was wrong.
Exactly. You may not be shown that it's wrong. You may not it always took her home. When do it look bad? You know what I'm saying? The man down there, he just this big, it don't look bad to these kids. He like, well, shit.
It's all they know.
My daddy always took her home. I ain't finna be out here just not doing. So, they do the same thing. I think it's, that's definitely a generational curse.
But I think when it's void of choice, that's my thing. So maybe when it's void of choice, when it's not necessarily something that you, I think it's something that when it's hard to come up out of. Maybe I should say that. So not necessarily the space of I'm the first person to go to college when nobody else thought about it, or it was never ever spoken of, or it was never, like, if every person in my family ever tried to go to college and it was hard or damn near impossible to go, then I can say, yeah, that's probably a generational curse on your family that's causing y'all to have those issues. Or when every person in your family has maybe been molested or raped, I think that those are generational curses. But I think when we, like I said, the difference is when we're making some of the things that in our culture, we're making choices in. Some of the stuff, and some of the oppressions that we're experiencing is a choice.
It definitely is a choice, but some people just, honestly, you got to think about it. And I understand what you're saying, but I guess just growing up, you know what I'm saying? Just growing up in the lifestyle and just knowing, it may be different for you, because again, you wasn't grow up in the type of lifestyle I had, the family that I had. So I feel like we got some generational curses in our family. You can say what you want to say, but I feel like I definitely broke it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not the one, I don't have no DOC, and I'm not locked up, and I ain't never got pulled over except maybe a seatbelt or speeding. So, a lot of people in my family locked up, and it went from the grump, you know what I'm saying?
And the same with my family.
So you got to break, you can say how you feel that, and I see where you're coming from on your aspect of it, But I definitely think there's generational curses because that's all you know.
And I'm not saying that there are no, okay, so I'm not saying there are no generational curses, because we go from my family, no, we weren't locked up, but my grandmother had a baby, my great-grandmother had babies, all of them had babies in their teens. You get to my mom and my aunt who had a baby in her teen. You get to me who had a baby in her teens. That's a generational curse.
Exactly.
But then you have my baby who's like, has not had sex, who's 17 years old, who's breaking that curse. So I do believe that there's
She's breaking it, but I broke it for my own child because I put her on birth control. I did that because if I wouldn't have did that, she would have been pregnant.
But what I'm saying is, those are those barriers where I think that there are some people who are out here actively breaking.
Somebody have to break it at
right.
some point, whether it's the person or the generation before you. Somebody have to break it at some point.
You
And for
have to
me,
think about a curse itself is something that keeps you bound. Period. So if you don't know that you're bound and you don't have other options and you can't go further and you don't have these choices, you're going to stay bound.
Right.
Whatever it is.
And that's what I mean when I say, like, I think it's a curse, is when you don't have a choice.
Yes, hello. My name is Eric Green. How do you know of a generational code? What knowledge of it? How you know it exists? That's the question.
I mean, I guess that would be just kind of hard to tell. It'd be something that you would like, it's just something that's historically happening, like, from generation to generation, just kind of like passing it down. So I guess it just kind of, and then I guess like how Capri's saying, I mean, you can look at it, different aspects of it, I believe. So.
and that's how I actually view it. Like if say like your dad was an alcoholic and your grandpa was alcoholic and his dad was an alcoholic, I would view that as generational because it's passing down to generation to generation. Then you become an alcoholic. To me, that's generational, and it's up to you to break it. To me, that's the only way you can recognize it.
It's hereditary.
And I think it does do. I think a lot of it does have to do with hereditary. Whether it's hereditary, it's something that's hard for you to come up out of. I don't know that we always recognize generational curses. I think it's not until sometimes we're submerged into the middle of it or in the midst of it, or maybe overcome it before we recognize it is a generational curse.
Okay, just to show my own personal testimony on how I acknowledge it, numerology, biblical numerology, numbers, not the names, because the Johnsons, the Jones, but the numbers. My dad was the only son. I was the only son. My mom had me at 15. It was the numbers in which I seen right here, this plum tree. There was a place where I was found with my mother running from the murderer that killed my dad. And then later on, I ended up being here in 36 apartments, having a son. I looked at the numbers, the 36. I looked at certain numbers and the Bible, because the Lord said, if you know the numbers of our hairs on our head, you know what I mean? That gave me a righteous man's steps are ordered by the Lord. So it kind of helped me go back to understand why am I keep on these same steps.
Yeah.
So
Dante believe in a number thing, Dante?
Yeah, I'm big on numbers, and it actually talks about generational curses in Exodus, I believe. And it says it could be like your third generation, fourth generation.
Yes.
It can go on down the line. It might not affect you, but it will affect your great grandkids down the line. But I'm big on numbers.
And he said, we know not because we have not. I mean, we ask not. So, you know what I'm saying? Prayer is always the way. Stay up, pray up. That's all I got for you. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Look. Hey.
Look, I'm too short. But I just want to say that when I think of generational curse, I think of the Kennedys. Just stop with it. You can't tell me that they're not cursed. Or they don't pray enough or something. Something's wrong for each one of them to die.
Yeah.
Y'all can look out there.
I mean, yeah, that's a major, like, that's a family I can say has a generational curse. I mean, for as many of them have died the way that they have died, like, I would definitely acknowledge that generational curse.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So is it
definitely exercise?
But that is something I've always said as I question whether or not the black culture or black people are under a generational curse. If that's why we have such a struggle with coming out and getting out from under so many things in the oppression space and being in that? Like, I've asked that question.
Is it generational curse or is it slavery?
Could it
Like
be?
the mindset from slavery?
Could it be both?
Both? You think both?
I think it's both.
Why though? Why?
It could be, Joe said it's an excuse.
Just tell us your why behind
It
it.
is an excuse when you know better.
This is really weird, I'm sorry.
I got pregnant, so I'm gonna get pregnant.
I really believe it's both. The reason why is, one, black people have been so desensitized and so oppressed for so long, so we have so much that we're struggling with on our own. But when it comes to generational curses, like I was just talking with my sister about that. Pregnancy at young ages, lackluster fathers, things like that. That those are generational curses that, regardless of black, white, races, it does not matter. Like that's a thing. So I think black people just have a double negative when it comes to them. When it comes to the oppression, and then also just life that every other race deals with. We struggle with so much. I think black people, we do ourselves a disjustice when we don't have these conversations.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't talk about these things.
Because most black people are told not to talk. So
Exactly.
I agree.
But why is
Pray
that?
about it, and it's just like something.
Yeah.
You just can't
Sometimes
pray
you just
about.
can't pray it away.
You gotta talk about it. And it comes from a black gay man. Like it's just you just can't do that.
So is that breaking the generational curse of telling our kids to talk about it versus pray about it? Like, because we don't talk in the black community. We keep so much in-house. Like, what goes on in this house, stay in this house. Mental health, everything. I think that we need to talk about it more.
I think sometimes
That could be a curse.
I think sometimes it's education though. Because you think about how much education you get and how much you know from the education that you've gotten and from the experiences that you've gotten and from getting outside of. So think about it. There are some people who have never left their neighborhood, who never left their street, who only have access to the people within their community, who may not be having these same discussions. And so if you get outside of your neighborhood, outside of your street, outside of your community, next to people who are having these conversations, I always say all the time, I truly am probably the most black power one we got on here. And that's just my thing. Like, I love my people. But I've also learned a lot from other races and other cultures things that I've brought back to my own. And things that I've said, well, there's nothing wrong with knowing, talking about mental health and going to therapy and having those discussions with my kids and talking about, I've always said a lot of times, you have to stop and say, you know what my path wasn't perfect. My path might not have been right, but I want something better for you. And I think sometimes when you're in the same community, on the same street, on the same space, I think some of our culture, some of our kids, because I deal with it a lot, are dealing with people who are like, you think you better than us. Or you want to get out and you want to learn more and you want to go do something better. You think you better than us.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. Think about that. If you're a kid who desires more, who wants more, how do you decide that you want better when someone is telling you if you want better, that's bad for you?
But why? Why are we that way? I don't understand that.
I don't either.
I don't understand.
Mikhail?
Hi, I'm Nicole. So you mentioned education. I kind of wanted to follow back on that. So I honestly feel like, I don't know if it's a cultural curse or a generational curse, but in the black community, we fail most of the time to educate the children on the importance of, credit, for instance. They don't mention that, hey, they're like, no, don't get a credit card, it's bad for you. Or 9 times out of 10, you already had something in your name before you even turned 18.
Hey, shout out to the AT&T landline you had when you was 2.
She can pay out to pay both paid off now because she's working at AT&T.
Exactly. So most of the time, so no, don't get a credit card. That's bad. But really, that's the basis. You can buy a piece of gum with it paid off. Make it simple. Not go out and buy the Louis Jordans and never continue to pay it. Or you want to be in the fanciest apartment that you're paying $1,500 a month for, and it's like you really could have been had a house by now. So it's just, I think it's just a lack of explaining what they could have, and just
Do you feel like that's a generational curse though? as well, like because we're not teaching our children.
Because because back in the day they didn't know and they weren't educated about it. Because most women, like we say on our conversation just here recently, most women back then was taken care of. The men worked, you stayed at home, you took care of the kids. I mean, maybe we just wasn't educated.
But they just told us don't get a credit card. They didn't tell us why.
They should have told us
They
why.
should have said, get
Like, if you can't afford to pay it back, do not get it.
So y'all at least got the hold on. At least y'all's family told y'all don't get a credit card. Nobody told me don't get one. Matter of fact, they didn't tell me don't get one. They got one. I got them and they used them. So, I mean, you know, when I got to college, I was literally wet. I didn't know anything about credit. I didn't know any. They said, and I'm happy they've changed the policy in that. Thanks to Obama for that. Because literally they were like, you want a free t-shirt? It got UCO on it. And I was like, sure, I'm a freshman. I'll take all the UCO gear y'all gonna give me. Just fill out the paper. And I'm filling out the paper. I didn't even know credit cards was coming because they wasn't coming to me. I lived on campus. They was going to my house. And my folks was using them.
That's the first.
There you go. And so, not only was I never told, like, don't do it. I was not told not to do it, but somebody else took it and said, well, she getting them, might as well use them. I mean, and so when it comes to that space, I think I can say that part of that is because her credit was messed up. Nobody taught her about credit. Nobody taught her mom about credit. That wasn't a discussion they was having. They was in the survival mode.
Right.
Exactly.
And so there is no level, like when we start talking about credit, you have to be outside of the fact that we need food and water and gas and lights. Credit is after that. And I think sometimes we are harsh on our parents because I had to stop and say, she just didn't know. Because when y'all living from house to house and y'all from neighborhood to neighborhood and you from school to school and you barely can keep the lights on, who's talking about credit? Don't nobody care about credit because we probably ain't paid 2 bills or a couple of bills because we had to look at what was more important. Do we want to be warm? Or do we want to take hot baths? So our electric, we got the electric that runs the heat and the gas that runs the water. Which one can we be without? So we can use the electric to warm up water to make bath water. So which one are we going to go without? And I have to say that's probably... Right. That was my mama's struggle. So when I came to understand that...
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yes. Boil water on something. You got to choose your battles.
Choose your battle. Pick your battle. So every month if that's y'all struggle, then you don't got time to teach nobody about credit because we don't care about credit right now. We're trying to live every day.
But that's why you have to break that.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's why you have to break it.
Right. And when we were younger, I think my mom's biggest focus was teaching or giving us a life she didn't have. So she didn't really know much about credit, but her idea of giving us something that she didn't have was stability. And so for her, it didn't matter. I mean, she was picking between bills, but she was still trying to make sure that we still went to the same school every day, that we had clothes and shoes, and that we had some level of stability because that's something she didn't have. So credit wasn't a priority for her. So I can't say that. I think I'm in a space to break that generational curse with my kids. Because now I can say, well, my mom's stability gave me an ability to go to college and to do more and to be better. And so now I can teach them about that.
Well, then your credit was messed up before you could even mess it up.
Right.
So you kind of had to start from the bottom anyway.
Right.
I think all families are different. I had a family, they had credit, but I was in a family that never wanted to talk about it. Don't nobody open their mouth to say anything. So they come to the house for me and I'm just applying for them. Nobody said don't do it. They had good credit, but nobody was talking to nobody about nothing.
Well, my
you know what I mean?
dad...
So it's still a generational curse because we'll go on this house, stay in this house, we don't talk about nothing. You know, we just behind closed doors as a family. Nobody's telling their kids.
Ain't no conversation happening
I think
whatsoever.
you're responsible enough because I was a straight A student, but no, I didn't know. You know,
You still have to have those
with a $1,000 limit. I went shopping.
Hold up, run up a rack.
You like balling?
Okay, I mean, I think different from a lot of people, so y'all keep saying the curse and the curse, and like, what's the characteristics of a curse? Because the way it's sounding after so long, it's not a curse, it's a crutch, it's an excuse. Because, you know what I'm saying, if your parents didn't do this or whatever, you you decide that you want to be different and do different things, like everybody that's sitting right now, are y'all doing those things differently? Or, you know what I'm saying, are you orienting your kids into credit, you know what I'm saying, classes? Are you teaching them the stuff that your parents didn't teach you? Or are you holding on to that, calling it a curse, using it as a crutch to be lazy? Or to just, you know what I'm saying, kind of make that time your own time instead of doing something where you can change it. But they give us this word curse, generational curse. We hear it, we already halfway programmed. So now programmed to say, hey, you know what, when all else fails, I done got too tired, this is my generational curse. I'm just sit down.
So the cop out.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I agree with you. I think that the generational curses is an excuse. Because for me, I did something different from both of my parents. I didn't allow neither one of their circumstances or situations to dictate my life. I knew the type of life that I wanted, and I followed that path. So I do believe that sometimes people use generational curses as crutches, as excuses, like, well, my mama did it, my daddy did it, like whatever, but that's you just lazy, and that's just what you choose to do. But I agree with you. Sometimes it is an excuse.
And that's why I said that I think in our culture we use the word generational curse too loosely. Because I do think that some things we're using it as a curse. As a crutch. I think we're making choices and saying, oh, it's just a generational curse because my mama did, or, oh, that's just what my family used to doing, and that's right. It's a cop-out to doing something better, which is why I say I struggle with that whole it's a generational curse. I think some things we're making choices in, and I do believe that some things we're under a curse under. I do believe, like I said, for me, it's different for my kids. You know, I talk to my daughter about credit. I have that conversation about saving. I have a conversation about credit cards and credit limits and how to utilize them and properly utilize them. So if she does it at this point, that's her choice. She can't stop and say, oh, well, it's a generational curse because my mama and my grandma and everybody else's credit was bad because I taught you better. So at that point, that's where I think sometimes, because I do think that some people are in families where, yeah, there is an addiction, or yeah, there is, substance abuse, or yeah, there are things like that. But there's somebody who's had a conversation with you and told you that's not right. So you know better. And instead of doing better, you've decided that you're going to lean on the fact that it's a generational curse and make it an excuse. And because that's just what you're going to do. And I do think that some of us are making those choices.
But you just assume that somebody has told them.
No, I'm saying if you know that.
Yeah.
So,
but you're saying that somebody at some point has set them down and told them that it's wrong. But you just assuming that.
No, so let's back up. What I said was I've taught my daughter. So if I've taught you, then you mess up your credit, then that's your choice. Yeah. I'm saying that some people are being taught. And then making those mistakes and blaming them on generational curses.
No, I totally agree.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that everybody, I don't know what everybody's been taught. What I'm saying is some people are being taught things and then blaming it on a generational curse. So if you're being taught better, then if somebody's taught you and someone said that's not right and you're still doing it, it's not a generational curse. It's a choice at that point.
Definitely. Okay.
Definitely.
So I looked up the definition. A generational curse is believed to be passed down from one generation to another due to rebellion against God. If your family line is marked by divorce, incest, poverty, anger, or other ungodly patterns, you're likely under a generational curse. Wait. It talks about the choice. Hold on. The Bible says that these curses are tied to choices. Yes. Deuteronomy 30:19 says we can either choose life and blessings or death and curses. Yeah. So therefore, if it is a generational curse, it's your fault because you chose that path.
Because you chose that path. You gotta break it. You gotta break the cycle.
Right.
Like if somebody gonna break it, I mean,
okay, so that take you back to the Kennedys. I guarantee you they didn't choose death.
You still think that family right there is definitely
died like that. But if you don't read, I'm not trying to go too religious, but if you don't read the word, you don't know that.
That it wasn't
staying in it.
Well, no, you're right, because it said, and it talks about it in what's place.
They might not have been reading the Bible.
Right. Well, it said, what is it? Where is it? Where it says, curse your fathers and your kids and curse your kids' kids.
Exodus.
That's what that is.
Exodus.
Like around Exodus 20.
So if you're not a believer, you don't ever read that for yourself. Once you're given that knowledge, somebody's giving you the word of God. It's up to you because you got got the book in your hand.
You got everything
But for
to
people
go by.
who ain't never had that book,
Yeah.
they don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be
scary.
true.
Yeah.
And that is scary. And I think a lot of our generation has chosen to be, not necessarily chosen, but I think we put sometimes our oppression and sometimes the poverty level. Like I said, if we're just trying to make it day to day, the choice to be something different is not there. You know, if your options are limited. You know, and that's just like what they say, the hierarchy of, I can't remember what it's called. It's a hierarchy or something. Anyway, but they tell you like the scientific portion that your needs have to be met first before you can do other things. But yeah.
Yeah, Dante got to use the bathroom. Can y'all excuse us?
Can y'all listen? See, Dante does this every episode. If y'all listen to us,
see the people that listen to us.
y'all know that Dante
I'm gonna go ahead and
leaves
let's talk about it. If y'all listen to us on a weekly basis, let's talk about it. So, if y'all like loyal listeners, y'all always have to. It doesn't matter. Y'all always have to realize
that Dante
at one point Dante is absent for about 10 minutes of the recording, and me and Capri is just talking. But that's because Dante is up, eating, going to the bathroom,
getting gallons of water.
Go ahead, Dante, baby.
Go ahead.
Come on.
What? You called me out.
But this is what you
But
do.
you said you could know it in that one. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Listen, but it doesn't matter. Even when we recording, we talk maybe an hour and a half prior to recording.
And she can do
Still
all of that.
waits
Right.
Until
we start recording.
It's just, just get up and walk away. Like,
always.
Like, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yesterday she came back and ate chicken. Girl,
she was sucking her teeth. Then she said we pick on her.
That's why it's called a podcast.
Exactly. Thank God nobody can see us during those weeks because Dante, she does. And she's been saying it for about 10 minutes. I said, no, Dante, you gotta hold it. And she said, I can't hold it anymore.
Go ahead and go. Let her go. Let her go.
But anyway.
So, this last portion of the recording, we like to do a Q&A, and we're going to do an informal Q&A. So, if you guys have any questions that you just like to ask us, I see our little jar over there is a little empty.
It's empty.
I can't tell nobody. They're engaged.
They are engaged. Thank you. But if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask us, this is your chance to ask.
But I guess it's our first podcast. I guess we can, let's do this. Before Dante get out, by the time she'll get out, we can put her in. Why don't you tell, nobody just like, people may not got us downloaded. Tell a little about yourself.
And about myself?
Yeah. People may.
What am I telling about myself?
Who is Capri?
Who is Capri?
They may not know. Oh, go ahead. Girl, he said he listened.
How y'all doing?
How you doing?
Hey, PJ.
Got a quick question. So
yes.
If I seen a little meme or something on Facebook that was shared by the Shade Room that a girl asked her boyfriend for $20 to send her kids to a field trip. He was like, hell no, go ask your baby daddy. Pretty sure you guys seen this.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either.
Oh, shit.
So hell no, go ask your baby daddy?
Okay, got you.
Well, he didn't say hell no, but he was like,
no, go ask your baby daddy?
Go ask your baby daddy.
So how would we react to that? Is that what you're asking?
She told him she not going to mess with him no more, but then he was like, cool. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, he probably was cool if he said, no, go ask your baby daddy. I mean, that meant he wasn't that interested anyway.
I mean, you can't really say so because, I mean, it depends.
No, go ask your baby daddy.
Well, how long have you been dating this man to ask him for $20? What if this man y'all went on one date to the movies and got a little chili, and then all of a sudden y'all on the phone.
So first
3 days later, you be like, well, little Tommy got a field trip to the pumpkin patch.
So first of all,
you know what I'm saying? His teacher said he needs $20. I don't think that's cool. I think.
Well, first of all, it's a thing called boundaries. So if you asking somebody after one date for $20, it's something wrong with your boundaries.
Women do it.
Okay, so so let me say this out loud. If you asking a man that you barely know for $20, then you can't be mad if he tell you no, go ask your baby daddy.
Exactly.
But if we've been doing this for a while,
you shouldn't have to ask.
If I ask you, I probably needed it. But this the thing is, if I asked you, I needed it. And this depends on, like, I'm not going to, first of all, I'm not asking you for nothing for my kids. Unless I absolutely just need it.
Exactly.
And so if we get to that point now, it's got to be some time. Now, I'm saying, like, it's 6 months to a year if I'm going to ask you. And if you tell me go ask my baby daddy, At that
It's
point,
probably it's gonna be a wrap.
it's gonna be a wrap.
Was your question about the $5 you sent the lady? The
No.
cash
No.
app?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
No,
we
see,
get 'em.
and she do this. Hold on, and then she do this too. Hold on, did she come back? Colleen listen to us enough. Did she come back and we gotta catch her up? Don't never know
He
what the
made that
question.
public. He
But that's
made it
not what he's
public on
talking about.
Facebook.
But that ain't what
Something
he's
else
talking about.
happened. That's a whole nother.
But that ain't what he's talking about.
So what happened was.
You don't have to explain.
Okay, good.
Like no. His question was no. What his question was.
I know. Look, everybody want to know now.
Okay, well, I guess if you want to share.
What happened was, this is girl, she just randomly always called and asked for money for lunch.
Oh, it's some
And
subject,
she do
okay.
it for every dude. And I know it, but I'm not stupid. But I just told her, like, nah, I'm cool. And I sent her $5 and told her to eat off the dollar menu and keep it pushing.
Well, the fact that she sending out messages to random dudes about lunch when she not even talking to you. But where do y'all get these women from? I have to ask that question.
I don't know.
Where y'all find? See, I'm still single and y'all be talking to these women.
I told her that because I don't play with women. I would love to take a woman out and do whatever, but I gotta know you. I gotta get to know you. I'm
No,
not
that's
just
understandable though.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Because I wouldn't have sent her nothing. I'd have sent her have a good day and goodbye.
It has to be a reason. I have to know a kid. Like, somebody asked me for some money just the other day for their rent money, like for rent.
So what you putting out? Hold on, let me ask you this. So what you posting on Facebook? Because I feel like you posting something that make people think this is comfortable.
I got $10 for rent because I love this person. I know this person, not just on some rent.
So was this before?
Present yourself.
Right.
Like I'm just trying to think about why women come in and ask.
That's what you wanted.
Like where do you work? I mean, why are women okay?
Are you posting your? You must be one of them guys posting your house, your
We all
car.
single mamas already.
We turn this to a whole different. We're not looking at our pockets.
But no, I feel like you posting your pocket. So what happens is, I think. No. You maybe. You said don't do what? You come in with your lady and come at the dinner for $5.
No, but no, I understand what you're saying, but no, back to the question. Back to the question that you
Okay,
asked.
fine, DJ. Back to the question.
Yeah, back to the question. My thing is, I just think like if you in a long-term relationship, I wouldn't see nothing wrong with just saying, I need $20 so I can, because I wouldn't ask you in that case, especially if it's not your kid. But if we together, I would think you would feel okay, comfortable with giving me money for, my kid that we've been together all these years. But like if we just dating, I wouldn't feel comfortable asking. I really wouldn't feel comfortable.
I wouldn't feel comfortable asking anybody outside my man.
Yeah.
Got some questions.
I don't ask nobody for nothing anyway, but if he feel comfortable, because some men do, feel comfortable enough to ask you for things he shouldn't be asking you for.
Like what? Like
You know
what?
what they ask for.
What they ask you for, girl?
They don't ask me for nothing.
And if they asking for
I'm just saying, are you just saying like to go to bed?
Because they do.
or in the bedroom?
They're both.
So you saying she don't give it out if they ain't paying for it?
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, if I can't ask you for $20, you can't ask me for nothing else in the bed.
Ask you to do that. Why shouldn't you be bold enough to ask them for $20 for your check?
Well,
I don't do that, but I'm just asking.
Yeah.
And say, this is what my $40 for.
Exactly. Why could it be 50? Why could it be 50? I'm so $40, right?
Yeah, because you can only go to the ATM and get 20.
Okay, so in the women's defense in all of this, some men are literally out here, and it's a lot of them, it's a lot of y'all that y'all bait women with y'all money.
Exactly.
Y'all will put that, y'all call it y'all wedding tackle, y'all will offer, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to do this.
Exactly.
And then when we ask for it, then we the bad person, but y'all put it out there like that.
T-Dot, shout out to you for that.
Listen, they do it. They want to walk. Y'all want to when y'all want to. Y'all with the way y'all dress on Facebook. Y'all tuck y'all shirt
And that's why I asked. Hold on, real quick. Hold on, little Joe. Hold on, real quick.
That's real though.
But that's real, and that's why I asked. Like, that's the question. That's why I asked, like, what are you posting? Because I think a lot of men don't understand that when you post your cars and you posting your house and your job, the kind of women that you are baiting or the kind of women that you're going to get are women that you posting every trip you going on. If that's all you got going on in your life, you gonna catch women who see that and think that that's what you want.
Get in your inbox and be like, yeah, I'm heartbroken because I was taking care of her and her kids and I was good to her and I paid all her bills and I did this and she cheated. You be like, oh.
What come pay my bills? I feel bad for you. Come pay my bills. I won't do you like that.
I'm gonna treat you like you can pay my bills.
You ain't gotta take care of my kids. They got a daddy.
Okay, that's it. But that's what they do. They try to make you feel like I'm such a good man and I'm such a good provider.
Stop, tell me, because y'all know that ain't the evening saying, because I cut grass all day if I can get good. And let's talk about it. I got to and you speak the grass cut.
I'm just saying, but
I'm
y'all
saying, it
made
look like
us
the
do
NFL
that.
football
Y'all
field.
made us do that.
And y'all don't made us.
We not no money. Not no
Show
money.
made us with the honey. I mean, we see it all.
I mean, you're right, Jeff.
Half the time we ain't got DMs.
That's a whole different stuff.
We didn't go to the picture with you and the kids. We didn't go to the picture with you and took mama out to dinner and all. We didn't sit. We looked at that same picture where you half naked. You put it out. So why we can't come that way? But when we come that way, it's an offensive.
No, it's not offensive. What we're saying is you can't be mad when some woman comes to you and says, I need $20 for my kid. And, well, it's right. But you can't be mad.
I was waiting if you was going to cover yours up while we keep having these conversations.
Joe, go sit down. But you can't be mad when we ask for $20 for a field trip.
If I'm on Facebook naked all the time, I got my titties and ass out all the time. That's like me saying I cook steak on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What you gonna want when you see me? Thank you. So all you talk about is that you got all this money that you can take care of me with, then what am I gonna want? Money. Well, I'm just saying, I don't make sure we got even exchange. But that's when I want your money, it looks like I'm a gold digger. But when you come for me about sexual favors, that's just your manhood doing what your manhood does. That's just what your it's a double standard. It's a completely double standard. You can when you want me for just my physical, that's just what men do. But as a woman, I'm anticipating, I'm expected to be independent and under control. So when I ask you for $40, you like, well, what I'm gonna give you for it? What you? No, give me fucking $40. I'm gonna give you $40. Give me some money, then something gotta come with it. If you cut my grass, something gonna come with it.
But it sounds like you want to show your father don't want to give no shit.
In the beginning, because if I'm telling you, okay, I'm willing to pay a bill, to get some ass, and I said,
get it.
If I'm willing to pay a bill, to get some ass.
See that? Don't pass it. Don't pass it this way. Pass it over here. Sorry. Hold up.
I didn't really have a question. I think this is awesome. We should do this more often. This is so much fun. But I was just going to say, for a woman to ask a man that, you got to kind of consider who the child's father is. I have a few baby mamas. A few. I'll say this, all my kids got different moms, okay? I'm not gonna count my kids for y'all tonight. But what I'm saying is this, there was an instance whenever one of my daughters was really young, and I was telling her mom, I said, hey, just come by. I was doing a commercial, so I said, well, just come by and grab the money, and that'll be it. And she didn't want to make the trip to where I was. And so she said, and she's dating a person at this time. And so she says, well, I'll just have so-and-so give it to me then. And so I immediately was like, no, don't ask him for money. My daughter isn't a hoe. She don't take money from no man. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, like, it's not even the guy who's getting asked who for the money. It really depends on what the child's father is, because I've dated women who have had like, for instance, I've dated women who have had, you know, more than one kid. I know there was one kid that his dad wasn't around, you know what I mean? And so if she asked me, you know, or she even just says, like, you know, her daughter has a field trip. I had one instance where I was dating a girl who was mixed, and the girl got called nigger by a white kid. And the dad wouldn't go up there. He's a white dude. The dad wouldn't go up there to the school, talk to the principal and teacher. So I went. And I only known her for you know, a month or so. But sometimes it's not even about the mom or the dad. It's about who that child's dad is. So if that child's dad, real dad, you know, don't do shit, he's a deadbeat, then yeah, like, it don't matter. Like, it's not even about the woman, it's about that child. Even if you never see her again, even if you don't know her, you know what I'm saying? It's not about that woman and her asking for money. It's about that child knowing that, you know, there's a man in that child's life who don't give a damn and don't do anything.
So shout out to my cousin JB for that one. And that's the real man in the family.
Yes.
Joe said he'll give the $20. I know he would. If I asked you for $20 from my baby, Joe love the kids. Joe love the kids.
That was an extinguisher of all of what we was talking about.
Joe love the kids.
Because it ain't about the kids. That's not what we was conversing about. Because it's not. Because, you know what I'm saying, the kids should always be taken care of.
Exactly.
Regardless, you know what I'm saying? I'm big.
It was just about the woman's aspect of actually
yes,
asking.
that's what we was talking
That's what we're talking about, yes.
So, if it's brought in the beginning, like I said, if it's spoke about in the beginning, and it needs to be understood by both parties, should nobody be mad. If you came into this situation knowing that, hey, I'm just going to give up some booty to get this light bill paid, but then don't be mad when I come say, hey, I'm going to pay that gas bill to get some head. It should be already understood. Hey, that's who paid.
But the question, Joe, was, how would you feel? What would you do if you asked the guy for $20? If you asked the guy for $20 and he referenced or he sent you back to your baby daddy, and then would you stop or would you decide to keep going? Would you be mad at him or would you not? And so, just to bring it back to the original question is, how do you? As what we're saying is, it depends for us. It depends on where we're at in that space. So if I haven't known you long enough, I'm probably not going to ask you for $20 for my kids. But if we're in a serious relationship and you defer me back to my baby daddy, then I'm going to stop talking to you.
And I mean, like, damn, this is good. But, and like, as a man, I know immediately, like, if I talk to a woman, if I just want to smash, I know immediately if I want a future with that woman, so on and so forth. So if she asks me for anything, you know, then if she asks me for her child, and I've only known her for a week, but in my head, like, this is somebody I can be with, then it's so, like, at that point, it's an investment. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me to get mad and be like, oh, ask his daddy, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's one thing. But if I'm like, I'm never going to see her again, then you might be like, yo, is his dad around? Hopefully you know that by that point. But is his dad around? Then you can make the decision on, like, you know, this isn't somebody I don't want to see your child. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to know who they are. Because there are some girls, some women, you like, I don't want to come over if your kids is up. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for real.
Like, I don't want to
so, like, if it's that kind of person, then yeah, but I definitely get it. You know, you can kind of weigh those options, but hopefully at that point, you know, like, this is somebody I might want a future with. So, like, yeah, that you want to be cool with that kid, you want to invest in that kid too. So.
And we don't want you to come if our kids.
Right.
So let me just put that out there. But for me, being a single person, my kids are taken care of by their father and by me.
Right.
So I'm not going to ask a man to help me take care of my kids because that's my child. if I'm in a relationship with you, I expect you to be in a relationship with me, but also have a relationship with my children. But I'm not in a relationship with you for you to take care of my kids.
Right.
If you choose to do for them, that's what you choose to do. But I'm not about to ask you for nothing.
And 40 ain't taking care of no kids. They can't even get us a whole meal with all of us. 40 ain't taking care of no kids.
And I done done, and baby, I'll get out here and make it work and make it happen for mine.
But this is a field trip.
I mean, but even for a field trip, nah, my baby ain't gonna stay at home because my baby gonna go on that field trip. But I'm gonna make it happen. If I got to ask my mama for 5, my grandpa for 5, if we got to figure it out, I'm not asking no man.
But that's what I'm saying. Before I ask a man, he'll stay at home.
Oh yeah, before I ask a man, he'll stay at home.
I think sometimes it's all about why you're asking for it, because I don't have kids. But I was in a serious relationship with this one man, and he would wine and dine me, take me out all the time, go everywhere. We was like together for like 3 or 4 years. But the first time I said something about electric bill.
Okay, first of all, you been too long. He should have been paying that a long time ago.
But at the same time, you want to act shady, but then you take the same $100 or something and we go out and have a good time.
Does he live with you? Is he living with you?
That's all right. Come on.
So check it out, man. I got a couple things, right? So I'm gonna say this because some guys might not know this, but dick ain't free.
Hey, go ahead and say that.
Right? Now, people with no confidence is like, yo, shut up. Dick ain't free.
Okay. I thought it was.
Right? And
But y'all handed it out to everybody.
listen, I'm speaking out to you. I can't speak for JB. I can't speak for Coop. I can't speak for this one. I can't speak for Mark.
All right, go ahead. Okay, go
Dick ain't free.
He said he
And when
is.
it comes down to what you're gonna do for somebody, me personally, it's a God moment. It's principle.
Right.
They say it ain't tricking if you got it, right? That's what a rich nigga say.
Yeah.
A broke nigga say it's tricking. I say if you got it, and it's in you to do it. If it ain't in you, you ain't gonna do it. If it's in you, you gonna do it in the beginning. You gonna eat the pussy, she gonna suck your dick. You gonna say, hey, your kid's cool out watching, even though you can't stand that little motherfucker, right? In the beginning, if it's in you, you're gonna do it. But what happened when you on head and she on her period? She did it before, but you ain't really trying to hear that no shit. If it ain't in you, you out the door, right?
Right.
I ain't want to come over when your kids was up. No way, because I'm really just trying to get some head out of this motherfucker. And for some reason, I beat the pussy up real good. You asked me for some little money the next day. And my check got fucked up the same day. So it looks like we both fucked in the situation. Like I said, dick ain't free, and if it ain't in you, it ain't gonna matter at the end of the day, no way.
There you go.
Shout out to you for that. So do we have any more questions?
Eddie Roscoe. Only Eddie Roscoe.
Only Eddie Roscoe. He said he was gonna put it out there.
Dick ain't free.
He closed that out.
Right. Any other questions?
No.
I think it's free.
It don't cost a thing. Right.
Yeah. Buying him, he buying me. Paying bills, I'm paying bills, so it's a wrap.
It's a business deal.
Right.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
It has been.
I enjoyed it.
I have too. I wasn't sure how it was gonna be.
I was nervous. I was at work nervous when the screen. I was like, oh my God. I was.
I didn't get nervous till probably about 4 o'clock. And I realized it was getting close, and I was like, I think I'm getting a little nervous. So, thank you for everyone for joining us. This was fun.
It was.
We'll have to do this again.
We definitely have to do this again.
I do want to thank Candace.
Candace, thank you, Candace.
Thank you for reaching out to us.
Asking. So we really appreciate
the idea.
Y'all clap for Candace. Thank you, Candace.
Yes.
Yes. Y'all,
shout out to
the
all
local
the
tea.
custom
It was the bomb, Candace. That drink was the bomb, girl. Yes, ma'am. The mocha tea, if y'all didn't taste the mocha tea.
And also,
you like the tear? It was good with it, girl. Medium adult.
And also, I thank our other podcaster, T-Dot, for being here.
T-Dot, yes.
What do you think, podcast?
Thank y'all. And even our loyal listeners, like I said, Talene, if don't nobody push it, baby, Talene gonna push it.
She sure does.
She push it.
Shout out to Jay Wiggs in the building. Shout out. We got JP in the building. We got some, y'all, thank you. you for y'all support. We appreciate
Yes, we
you.
really do.
Yeah.
Thank y'all, and we'll, I guess we'll let y'all know
When we do another one.
When we do another one.
So, Mark.
Mark,
Thank you for letting us use your facility.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Mark. We really appreciate
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Therapy.
Very good
Thank you
therapy.
so much. Thank y'all.
Yeah.
But
So,
we gonna end it out like we normally do.
like we always
Like
do.
we always do, y'all.
So y'all can catch us. We're on Instagram. The Instagram page is at MochaTea. There is no underscore anymore. I changed it.
We all
Nobody else is
changed
MochaTea
it.
Podcast. So you know
Yeah.
what? It was available, so I went ahead and changed it. So it is MochaTea Podcast, one word, all the way together. So we're on Instagram. If you guys will follow us, if you're not following us, go ahead and pull out your phone and follow us right now.
Please
You
follow
on
us. If y'all don't know,
Instagram?
I'm sorry to tell baby. Look, if y'all don't know what we own, and Capri will go ahead and name it off, but y'all, if y'all grab one of our business cards off our table, it actually has all of our what we own also, like all of our platforms.
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're MochaTea Podcast on Facebook. We are on Twitter as well as MochaTea Podcast, and it is MochaTea, and then there's a space in between on both Twitter and Instagram. But if you just put MochaTea in on Twitter, it'll pull up. You'll get it. To listen to us, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on SoundCloud, and we're on Anchor. So you guys can pull us up on any of those platforms and listen to us any of those ways. We are on Seattle Hip Hop Radio every Monday and Friday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Now look, I always push Seattle Hip Hop Radio just because it is like a black Pandora. He is playing hip hop music. He is playing new artists. He is doing what we always say we want in our community. So I say, go listen to his platform, even if we're not playing, even if we're not on there. He is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is Seattle Hip Hop Radio. It's an app.
It's an app. So go to the App Store.
Yeah, you can go to your App Store, Google Play, and it'll come up, Seattle Hip Hop Radio. And we're on .com.
And we're on there Monday through Friday, but any of the other ones you can listen to is 7 days, Monday and
Friday, guaranteed at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then he plays us just randomly throughout the week on Monday through Friday as well. So we may be on there on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, whatever. But he also has like different things that come on. So like there's reggae, there's hip hop. There's a lot of different things for the culture on there. So I always push that. Go listen to that.
And we actually follow. We come behind Cheryl Underwood.
We do.
So Cheryl Underwood's show is on there too.
We do.
Right before.
Right before us,
yeah.
So that's how to listen to us. By the way, shout out to our vendors back there in the back.
Yes, we did have.
We appreciate you guys.
Go ahead and
we have not forgotten
tell
you guys. So we have Guy Kevin is in the back, and I'm gonna mess up her name. But it is Sawdust Design. She's in the back selling jewelry. Go ahead and go back there and get you some good gear, and then add a couple of pieces to your collection of jewelry. Shout out to y'all. We appreciate y'all supporting for y'all coming. Thank you. And then like y'all, if y'all want to get old school on us and just send us some inquiries or anything via email, we have an email address too. It's mochatea2018@gmail.com. And this is the end.
Yeah, they always wait for me to do it, and I do
So,
it today just on our recording.
We are out.
Peace.